Welcome to our viewers. Thanks so much for joining us for our webinar today, Address Strategic Data Priorities in the Financial Industry. Joining us today are our presenters, Sanjay Yagas, Senior Director of Products and Solutions at Cloudian Inc., and Frank Cheap, the Regional Sales Director at Cloudian Inc. as well. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over back to Sanjay.
Thank you, Audrey. Super excited to be out here and talk about one of my favorite topics. You know, this is an area, a solution that is very near and dear because, you know, this financial industry, services industry is going through transformation. And, you know, we are super excited to be part of this and talk about the solution. So today with us, we have Frank Cheap, one of our most dynamic sales guy and leader for the U.S. West. Frank, welcome aboard. Nice to have you and partner with you on this webinar.
Yeah, good morning, Sanjay. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. And most dynamic, I don't think I've been called that for some time, but I do appreciate the compliment.
You are the best, right? So let's jump in, right? So for our agenda today, right, you know, we at Cloudian have been specializing in doing enterprise object storage solutions. And as by that virtue, we have had multiple discussions with multiple financial services customers. So we'll start off with talking about what we have learned and what the IT leaders at that financial services have shared with us in terms of their challenges and what they are needing. And then go into talking about what Cloudian's focus is for the financial services. We'll then jump into the Cloudian solution, and obviously we'll talk about a specific case study and how Cloudian helped our customer build that data platform that helped them address some of their strategic needs. Right. So with that, let's get excited and talk about this exciting solution. So talking about financial services, right, you know, as I mentioned this, we have been talking with multiple customers, and one or few of those things that has come out universally across all those customers is very simple, right? You know, there is this top-of-the-mind items for a lot of these financial services, IT leaders, as well as business leaders, is creating differentiation. Like I mentioned at the start of this slide presentation, financial services industry is going through major transformation, right? You know, if you talk about just the way the business has evolved or is evolving, you know, there is a lot of moving pieces, right? You know, whether it's modernization, getting and capitalizing on some newer fintech-like initiatives where you have more expectations from the users as well as from a business's perspective in how do I maximize the value and create differentiation, right? So there's definitely a desire, a push to create and innovate and do more. But it's also very important in this modern day and age where now customers' expectations because of the digitization of this whole economy as well as the way information has been shared, how do I meet with this growing, evolving needs from our customers to get that information in real time to be able to accomplish their things without going through the traditional models of going into the bank and be able to remove all those frictions from the customer's journey, right? You know, and as we talk about digitization, obviously there is always this risk, especially in this specific pandemic times where there are increased risk with all the different information source and endpoints being accessing valuable, sensible data. How do I prevent and secure against those evolving threats, right? You know, this definitely requires them to optimize and look at their IT environments and look at it and see what can we do different. How can we simplify our IT operation? How can we innovate and accelerate some of this innovation? So this is a very dynamic moving space, right? You know, and this is what makes it really, really challenging for the IT providers in how do I meet these requirements. Frank, you've been talking to all these customers. is this fair to summarize? This is what their top of the mind items are?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the interesting thing, Sanjay, about S3 and object storage, it is very much a general purpose scale-out platform, but within the financial context, there are some significant driving factors, not least of which is cost, but security and flexibility. So I think that what we find is our product and solution is very much in alignment with the financial services organizations and really what's top of mind now with COVID-19 and the pandemic.
Absolutely, and I think that's what makes it a very interesting solution from our perspective, right? And talking about the top of the mind items, right? This top of the mind items definitely creates us more challenges from an IT perspective, right? When you are talking about just the way the industry is changing, IT being in the midst of all these things is definitely facing multiple challenges, right? And like we discussed earlier, some of those challenges are as highlighted out here, right? The markets are evolving, and so is the customer's expectation, right? We have all these newer companies like the fintechs that don't need to have the traditional models, but still be able to offer solutions that are competitive, right, and meet some of these customers' requirements, right? So these markets are evolving, and this creates more pressure, more burden on the IT to adapt and be able to support some of these evolving markets and customer expectations. This has become the number one challenge, if not one of the top challenges. Obviously, security is by far always been there as the major threat, and that is something that has been ongoing, and in fact is probably even exponentially become more important because of all the digitizations, right? You have now the threats are getting more and more sophisticated. You always see things like ransomware or insider threats or hacking, like cybersecurity. There's the volumes and the velocity and the variety of these attacks are just growing exponentially, and this also creates more pressure on the IT organization. Not to mention the other factors that are impacting is obviously the sheer volume and the amount of data that is growing, right? In this day and age, we talked about how this whole economy is getting digitized and the industries are going through this modernization effort. What that means is very simple, right? You have the data generation that are happening at an unprecedented rate, and people are looking to derive meaningful insights from this data to figure out how they can use this data to monetize it, right? So that data has become a valuable asset. But whenever you're talking about financial industry, you always have to mention how complex the regulatory and compliance landscape is, right? We are basically dealing with geographically distributed regulations and compliance and exposures to different markets, like whether it's GDPR or privacy protections or making sure that, those information is protected and secured based on the industry standards, right? This is becoming truly very demanding on the IT organization. And all these factors are forcing IT leaders to look at their infrastructure and see, what can we do to meet this growth and meet these challenges, and how do I address this? Frank, you, again, I'm pulling on you because this is something that you deal with on a day-to-day basis when you talk to these customers.
Yeah, no, you're exactly correct. And I do think as the world evolves right now, the need for security has become paramount, but really hand in hand is cost management and cost reduction. Traditional IT infrastructure is very expensive. There's no question about it. There has been a push over the last several years for a cloud-first strategy, particularly from the finance folks, the CFO, and the stockholders. They want cloud first because it's cool. The perception is it's lower cost. Some cases there are cost advantages, Other cases is not the case. But at the end of the day, in particular, many of the financial customers we deal with simply cannot go to public cloud. They have to emulate that public cloud within their own firewall as a private cloud to offer both equal to or superior cost advantage of public cloud, but as important, superior security versus going outside the firewall, as they say.
Absolutely. And the fascinating thing about this is two things that we found out during our research, right? We know that the data volume growth is happening at an unprecedented rate. If we look at the different segments across the financial services, whether it's fintech, whether it's capital market, right, or wealth asset management, insurance, you name it, corporate, retail banking, the more and more data is being created or is digitized and is required to be kept around for longer and longer period of times, whether it's because of the customers' regulations or because of the businesses, right? The interesting fact about this is if you're talking about this rate of volume growth of data, we're talking about 20, 35%, depending on which analyst you talk to. The fact that 80% of this data is dark is mind-boggling. And what this means is this amount of data has been generated, but is not actually used or accessible in a way that they can use this to monetize this. This means that this is basically lost revenue opportunities. When we talk about data being one of the most critical assets in terms of your modern services and modern offerings, if you have this data locked up, be it because of tape drives or be it because of silos or whatever it may be, and cannot use this data, it is a cardinal sin that you cannot take advantage of this to improve your business, improve your customer expectations, or add more new revenue generating opportunities. And that to me is one of the things that is become very, very clear. And when we talk to these IT leaders, like Frank was just talking about, right, and we talk to them about, okay, what is happening in terms of you, Mr. Customer, trying to transition this into a modernization effort, right? And two or three things become very common, right? IT is at the core of it, and the complexity of this IT is hurting these customers in terms of transformation, right? Whether it's because legacy IT, and like Frank was saying, the legacy IT is very expensive, right? That's the proprietary model, right? Where, and it prevents rapid change because you are forced in and locked into those IT. And moreover, those legacy ITs were not supposed to be cloud-like, right? There is so many silos and data remains in those silos. And as a result, you cannot use that data effectively. And even some of the IT processes that they have because of their legacy infrastructure are difficult to scale, right? If you're talking about move to the cloud or cloud-like infrastructure where you're talking about dynamicity, elasticity, scale, and if your processes don't line up, then you basically end up buying all and repeating your orders on those legacy infrastructure. And that means that you are still stuck in that upfront CapEx and not be able to move to an OpEx model, which is what the cloud-like model Frank was referring to. And lastly, obviously, it all comes down to the people skills, right? As this industry and the IT world is transitioning towards the modernization, the people skills needs to evolve, right? But if you're constantly fighting legacy IT complexities and change, there's very little time for innovation and development of those skills or finding those IT specialists that can help you make those transition, and that's what is creating a bigger hurdle, right? Frank, you probably have heard this many a times when you're trying to talk to the customers about their IT transition.
No, indeed. I was just making some notes. I mean, ultimately, the business that we're in, our customers in, is about data protection, making sure that data is secure, which is in the traditional old world was to burn a tape right to an LTO tape, expensive libraries, ongoing media costs, and ship those tape cassettes to a vault. And so, as NJ has indicated, the reality is that, sure, that data is there. We assume it's protected because it's a secure vault, but it's not being accessible, so it's a stranded asset that is not monetizable or easily monetizable. So many cases, if that company wants to go back and run a Hadoop infrastructure or extended data analytics, and we saw with the success of Snowflake recently in the stock market, data analytics and big data is a huge, huge market. So the concept of ensuring an asset is not stranded, ensuring an asset is accessible, but also protected. The other significant factor is a fact that's been long quoted is that many of the reasons for data loss is not necessarily a failed disk drive or broken tape or even a hack, which is common today, but human error. So imagine if an organization can be presented with a solution that's secure, that's scale out, that all the data is live on spinning disk, that data is being constantly scrubbed, and it's accessible from the right individuals, and ease of use is really quite paramount, thus reducing the fact that you have to have multiple individuals trained in multiple different platforms, and significantly reducing the aspect and potential for human error and data loss in that case.
I absolutely agree. And I think if you look at what those financial services IT leaders are looking for is a very holistic cognitive data solution. And what I mean by that is they are looking for a platform that can unify this information, right? They can integrate multiple silos and resources to create that private cloud, create that data lake, where information can be easily correlated, right? You can easily discover whether it's coming from different sources, and then you can achieve that certain transparency or unified global view and impact, so that you can now dissect this data, be able to analyze this data, and be able to derive meaningful insights. Right, this is what our focus at Cloudian is for the financial services. Our mission is very simple. We want to enable and transform the role of IT by delivering a modern data-centric solution. Right, our approach is very simple. You need to have a very scalable, secure, single data platform that offers cloud-like functionality, but in your own private data center, so that you can increase the agility of your IT, you can increase the rate and speed of innovation, and then can transform your IT to be a business center or a value center rather than just being an infrastructure management company, right? And component. And then obviously security has been the number one factor. So you need an enterprise platform that can deliver and strengthen your security initiatives while reducing the cost, not only just from a CapEx perspective, from the IT perspective, but also from an operational perspective, by eliminating silos, by improving the processes, and be able to take advantage of the modern data platform. This is very, very crucial, and this is what our financial services customers are using, right? We have helped our customers modernize their data centers, and we'll talk about this in the case study, how we have done this, so that they can run any application on-prem or in the cloud on a single platform, right? As Frank mentioned, data protection is a key component of this, where you are not only just protecting the data, but also securing the data in a way that is seamless across different vendor solutions, right? You have different applications, different workflows from an application perspective, different ISV solutions. How do I still integrate and be able to become that data platform so that I can protect my data, I can secure my data, I can meet my archive and compliance needs, and create that big data lake so that I can run now at those advanced analytics and different workflows so that I can find and get meaningful insights into the data that will help me transform my business, help me meet my customer expectations. And lastly, if cloud is an initiative and want to bring that elasticity of the cloud, how does this data platform integrate with the cloud without locking into a particular cloud vendor, so you can get your hybrid cloud or multi-cloud without having to worry about lock-ins? So this is what Cloudian has been working on, and we have several customers who are using this to achieve their mission on their journey towards the modernization effort. Cloudian, as I mentioned, right, is basically an S3 API-driven object storage solution. We offer industry's highest S3 compatibility, which that means is it's very simple. We have a very rich and diverse ISV ecosystem. Not only the things that I've mentioned out here, whether it's because of the infrastructure ISV system or an application ecosystem, whether it's backup, analytics, Splunk, file services, or even the cloud providers, Cloudian has strategic partnership with all of this particular ecosystem. Plus, by virtue of us being an S3 compatible solution and meeting the advanced S3 functionality, it brings in that thousands of ISV systems, ISV ecosystem that AWS has built over S3 to seamlessly, portably work. And this is what the financial services love, because they don't want a solution that gives them one or two application workflows, but they want a platform that allows them to behave and act like a cloud-like solution so that they can tomorrow bring in this advanced application ecosystem on that platform. And talking about Cloudian, and one of the things that we are doing and helping this financial services is, we talked about modernization, and Kubernetes is becoming one of the top-level initiatives at some of these major enterprises and financial services customers. Right, every customer that we have talked to are in some way looking at either modernizing their applications or building new cloud-native applications so that they can compete in those dynamic, evolving, changing landscape where they are looking to deliver more value. And with our recent announcement of our Kubernetes operator, we are seamlessly now allowing those customers to take advantage of Cloudian's scale-out distributed enterprise-grade object storage solution for their Kubernetes application, right? They can use Cloudian from their applications. The DevOps team can use our operator to seamlessly provision persistent storage on object storage so that they can take advantage of the platform, the data platform that they have in their data centers, and be able to support their traditional workflows as well as modern cloud-native workflows through Kubernetes. We're bringing this enterprise data centers with cloud-like access for those modern applications, and that story continues with our recent announcement from last week about our partnership and how we have extended our partnership with VMware to the next level, where we already were working with them on many different solutions, like including the Cloud Director solutions for service providers and managed service providers, which are very common for financial services, where they offshore this to those managed service providers to operate their IT or infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. But now with our integration with VMware Cloud Foundation and vSAN, this allows those enterprise IT who have standardized on VMware to now be able to deploy Cloudian as a container or as a VM, or even adjacent to the VMware as a bare metal appliance, and be able to extend their platform, their virtualized platform, to support S3, an enterprise-grade object storage solution on vSphere. Right? This is a fantastic solution that allows you to now run some of these modern applications on the same platform that you have with VMware and vSphere, so that you can increase and accelerate your innovation while bringing efficiencies into the data centers by running object storage on the same platform as your traditional compute and vSAN hyperconverged story. It simplifies the deployment, it simplifies the operation, and makes it very seamless. Talking about Cloudian, I do want to take this initiative and talk about what really Cloudian is for people who don't know what we are. As I've been saying this again and again, we are a software-defined enterprise-grade object storage solution. It's a very simple, modular, cost-effective solution that brings cloud-like infrastructure into your private cloud, into your data center. You can start small. You can scale over an exabyte. You can scale across multiple sites. You can have it as deployed in a hybrid cloud model or even on a multi-cloud model, where depending on what cloud you would like to use, we can have seamless integration with them. It's rated as one of the, Gartner Peer Insights Choice Award, like one of the top-rated object storage solution. And you can manage this seamlessly across your entire cluster through our HyperIQ management system that gives you real-time observability, predictive maintenance, as well as analytics on the platform. From why Cloudian, as I said, right, from a feature functional perspective, not only just that we are software-defined, we bring in modular scalability, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It can be deployed in a geo-distributed way with a single global namespace and can scale seamlessly, non-disruptively into exabytes and hundreds of nodes. We have integration with cloud, whether it's Azure, Google, Amazon. We tier into it. We can be deployed in the public cloud. You can have your cluster span. It gives you complete freedom and complete flexibility in terms of how you want to use this. From a family of solutions and products, right, the core product is our HyperStore object storage solution. It offers native implementation of S3 API. It's a scale-out architecture with integrated data protection. And then we have our Hyperfile NAS controller. So we have often seen our customers talk about a need for my applications that only speak file, but would like to take advantage of a scale-out distributed object storage solution. How can I do that while preserving the file integrity? The Hyperfile NAS controller allows you to do that by offering NFS and SMB connectivity for those file applications, while using the object storage underneath to store and preserve file consistency so that you can read that data as a file, or you can read that data directly from an object storage using S3 API. It integrates into your Active Directory, worm, and other functionalities so that you can seamlessly continue to take advantage of Cloudian's enterprise platform. When we talk about integrated data protection, this is something very unique to Cloudian because of our architecture. You have the complete flexibility to deploy Cloudian either as a replicated across multiple DCs, or have integrated tiered across public cloud, or even when you're doing a multi-site deployment, you can now have erasure coding be done across those multiple sites. And why this is very important? Because resiliency is an important factor, especially in this dynamic global economy where those financial services have operations across the globe. They want to make sure that there is no disruption and there is 14 or any nines of availability of their data. They can sustain site failures without any outages, making sure that data is always available to everybody around the world, around the clock, and be able to do that. You need to have that kind of flexibility within your architecture to be allowing the customers to deploy it in different ways. It not only just does that, but like I said, right, it offers multi-tenancy, multi-site with QoS and billing so that you can consolidate multiple workloads. It allows you to use public cloud the way you want it, whether it's tiering to the public cloud or deploying it in the public cloud for ensuring that you have a single unified way of accessing that storage irrespective of which public cloud you are using. Right, the management of this infrastructure is cloud-like and it is built in as part of our story. Like I've said this before, our Cloudian solution is the most highly rated object storage solution according to Gartner's Peer Insights, and we are the Peer Insight Customer Choice Award winner for the last year. This is something that anybody can go in and see. This is the customers, the users who rate this, and as you can see, we are the highest rated. And we have the most reviews, so it's not just one-off ratings that have in favor of Cloudian, and it's rated across all the different levels of functionality that has been evaluated. That means that with Cloudian now you have a platform or a partner that is proven, that allows you to meet your goals from transitioning into this journey. And this is why customers love and choose Cloudian. Not only just that we build them a platform that they can use for their applications, right? We give them the S3 APIs, the file connectivity, we give them policy granular data management. We offer them an integrated solution for searching that data and doing analytics with enhanced metadata. We have the cloud integration so that you can take advantage of the public cloud and be able to maximize your value and be able to bring that dynamicity into your environment. It gives you flexible deployment options, whether you can deploy it as a software only, you can deploy it as a container, you can deploy it as pre-qualified appliances, you can deploy it on any third-party hardware solutions that you prefer, and gives you that ultimate freedom, right? It delivers on those performance. We have the ability to deploy this as flash solution or a spinning drive or high-density capacity solution so that you can get and meet all those application requirements on a single platform. We have effective data management capabilities where you can pin those data sets in the flash nodes so that you can get consistent performance and over a period of time move this bucket and that data into a capacity storage when your data is no longer hot so that you can maximize the value of your platform. Like I said before, we have native implementation of S3 API, and that means that we have the highest compatibility when it comes to S3 APIs. The solution and the architecture is built for scale. You can start small and seamlessly grow and mix different kind of nodes without any disruption. It has multi-tenancy, QoS, so that you can ensure that, from protecting your data from noisy neighbors, as well as making sure that the data stays within the tenant's secure boundary. And lastly, being an enterprise company solution, we have enterprise-grade support, 24/7, 365, follow the sun model. We have smart support where we have ability to remotely understand and through the logs and through the call home system, be able to bring in enhanced SLAs from a support perspective for those premier tier 1 customers. That's a lot of things. Frank, anything that I missed on why people choose Cloudian and why our customers prefer Cloudian?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a mouthful. One would think that Cloudian is a perfect product and a perfect company. I will say we have a tremendous build out of our feature set and architecture. We have north of 450 customers today. We are global. We have about 250 employees. We've been doing this for 7 or 8 years now. It's been a lot of work to get to where we are today. But I will say some of the comments we receive back from our customer base are, if we have an issue, we address the issue, we fix it. We are always upfront and honest with our customers. So it's as much as the initial buying experience of qualification and testing the product as well is it through the whole life and support of the product, which I think is, one cannot say that for all vendors based on certainly my experience. But Sanjay, very complete list here, indeed.
Thank you. And I think I would be not doing justice if I didn't mention one of the brightest thing that we do is in helping these customers in their distributed deployment is bringing that global view through HyperIQ, our observability and analytics solution, where you get real-time view into the Cloudian system and the cluster. You can have this be brought up in minutes in an out-of-the-box solution so that you can get interactive dashboards, historical analysis, and analytics on how your tenants or users are of this particular storage solution are using this, and also keep an eye on it from security perspective, where you can set up alerts so that you know when those accesses are not approved, or you can trigger alerts for any maintenance activities so that you can proactively take care of it. You can dynamically look at some of the analytics data to even fine-tune your systems and be able to make it even more efficient, right? This is what differentiates Cloudian from any other solutions out there in the market. Talking about how it differentiates, let's jump to the exciting part of today's webinar, and this is the case study. This, Frank, I will let you go in and talk about what the customers overview is. This is one of my favorite customers because two things, right? As a product management lead and as alliance solution leads, you want to have a customer that partners with you, right, and be able to work with you and help you shape some of the roadmap, as well as allow you to make your platform solution better, right? So this customer has been a fantastic customer for us. And Frank, thank you very much for building that relationship. So why don't you tell us? This is an online payment platform company, one of the many companies in the U.S. West Coast that you work with. What were those customers looking for?
No, indeed, Sanjay, and thank you for the kind words in the introduction. This customer is quite large. We're not able to use their name, as many out there can respect that. Indeed, they were looking for storage as a service, and this would be a self-provisioning, very much scale-out model intended to go to hundreds of petabytes across multiple use cases. Self-provisioning, that is with a little bit of work and internal admin and infrastructure. Users could come to an internal portal and get the storage they need. We looked at a number of different factors in here, or indeed the customer did. We went through a traditional RFP response. Virtually all storage companies on the planet that have a object store offering responded. We were selected down to a short list of some of the usual players, as you can imagine. We won the business based on our feature function set, our robustness in terms of handling a mixed hardware environment, which quite frankly some of our competitors were not able to handle. And in fact, we were chosen based on actually a very grueling multi-month POC, which, as anybody in the business knows, is not an easy thing to do. Once we were deployed, The interesting thing is the use. Go ahead. Go back.
Yeah, I'm back in this. Sorry.
Did you have a question on this? No?
No. Sorry, the slide transitioned accidentally. So.
Okay. All right. There we go. Sanjay just keeps me on my toes. That's good. That's always good. I've worked with Sanjay now for a bunch of years, and fantastic leader on the product management team. So, as we said, it's an internal storage as a service, but really they've come across, as this product has been deployed, virtually a new use case every month. So I think we're up to about 10 different use cases, some of which I can't talk about in detail because of NDA, as one can imagine. But in the sense that we are responsible for unstructured data, which is, as most of you know, is the majority of data in an organization, and at the same time, we are moving up the food chain, as they say, with our new Flash product, which has just been announced. It's NVMe. We are working with this customer right now. We are in DevOps for new application development. Kubernetes is a big focus for this organization. This customer, like many customers, has substantial Splunk data assets, many of which are in archive mode, yet have to be preserved and protected for a number of years for legal compliance. And we were able to offer cost savings of removing those assets and archives from Tier 1 to Cloudian. There's database backup, there's doc management, and there's large Hadoop assets, which are, again, running on very expensive direct attach disks. The concept of disaggregating those assets from compute and putting them on a different level, a different storage level, is indeed very attractive. And I think what keeps coming back from this particular customer is that the reason they like us so much is, yeah, the product is solid. Yes, it does everything we said it do. Yes, we did not misrepresent it in any way, shape, or form during both the RFP and validation through the POC. But it's really our whole posture and support model has been outstanding. And though Sanjay is complimentary of me, I run a team of folks that manages this account, and we definitely win as a team. We have a number of SE folks assigned. We have a number of tech support engineers. We have a customer success manager. Our product management team has been in with this account doing extensive roadmap. And one of the advantages that's been explained to us, and the reason we were selected, is that they consider us a flexible vendor, both from support, but future offerings. That is, this customer has the ability to influence our roadmap going forward, which may not be the case with some of the other big guys. So that is really it in a nutshell from use cases in this customer. But I will say, just to touch on a couple things that we've covered earlier in this session today, is though we talk about global scalability and single namespace and, right data, right place, right time, all of that, at the same time, from a security standpoint, in the case of Canada, data locality, continental locality, or GDPR in Europe, we are able to pin assets in particular geos to ensure that they don't cross country boundaries. We offer encryption at rest, and then we are fully multi-tenant. So think of it as a private cloud that offers all the advantages of someone like an Amazon, a Google, or Azure at a fraction of the cost, and that is really much more within control and within a secure firewall versus going out to the public cloud. I think if you read the news recently in the last 3 or 4 months, a number of the hacks that have occurred for some of the big hyperscaler or public cloud players have been rogue employees, which, unfortunately, as I said, human error, either intentional or unintentional, tends to be a security breach in many, many cases. So that is really it in a nutshell from this customer. Again, I'm very proud to work with them as a customer, and they've been very good to us, and we continue to build this relationship. And go through additional use cases and as from a revenue standpoint, certainly grow our footprint with them.
Yeah, I think, Frank, you mentioned a few things, and I want to just highlight, right? Security is obviously very important, and by far, Cloudian has the highest in terms of certification, right? We are SEC 17 compliant, we have FIPS, common criteria. We have a robust security offering that is something that this customer values a lot, not only just from what we can do internally, like, worm, encryption, but also the ability to do Active Directory, SAML, IAM, so on and so forth, that fit into their enterprise requirements around security. Right?
Indeed.
And I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say very, very good points. And I think the security certs that our team has worked so hard on have really helped both with this customer, a number of the financial customers, as well as we have a number of deployments with federal agencies that we also are not able to mention here, but have very stringent requirements from the security standpoint. And to go through these security authorizations and certs were a tremendous amount of work at ISIDE, but certainly speaks to the integrity and quality of our product.
Absolutely, and I think I remember this customer's POC very distinctly, Frank, and I think there were very interesting anecdotes, Frank, and obviously we don't want to talk about some of those pieces, but, when it looks to, getting into POCs, every time we do POCs versus our competitive solutions, right, we end up winning because customers love how transparent we are in terms of what we can do, and be able to say exactly what we can do and what we can't, right? And that's not always the case with everybody out there.
Indeed, and just sort of a quick note, I think maybe some folks think that a POC or proof of concept is what the acronym stands for is a walk in the park, which it's far from the case. A customer like the one we're referring to in many of the accounts that I've dealt with will break the product. They will understand where the limits of our product are. They may discover a bug through their testing, something that we did not find. And through that, we end up with a far more robust solution. And when that customer, in fact, designs and architects and implements our product in their infrastructure, they understand where the limits of the product are. They don't put it in a situation where it's going to fail. And this is certainly a joint effort between Cloudian engineers and the customer, to ensure that at scale, through thick and thin, that the product is able to provide the SLAs and feature and performance they require.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to just say is if you just look at this list of use cases, it's mind-boggling in terms of fact that, we started off with one or two items and have our customers, typically this is very common of our customers where they end up liking the product and wanting to do more and more and bringing more. This is the same story that we initially talked about, consolidation, bringing that platform's other data sets in, building that data lake, right, Frank? And this brings them closer to achieving their goals that they are looking to do.
Indeed. No, you're absolutely right. And we're in a position to replace some existing vendors in this account, which based on a number of years of hard work with them and exceeding requirements of their initial data sets and continuing to move on that stack. And I think the other good point, for those that track Amazon, AWS, and all the things that they do, if you go to Amazon's website and look at use cases for S3, which is what Cloudian provides within private cloud, that list continues to grow. I mean, it is amazing what Amazon has done with that product and scale out, and quite frankly, it's a very good product. Our differentiation is, as we talked about, security, data locality within the firewall versus public cloud, and then also from a cost standpoint. We have a significantly superior cost model from both initial CapEx deployment as well as OpEx, because within a customer's firewall, there is no egress charge, which is one of Amazon's, I won't say hidden, but sometimes hard to figure out, profit margin and how they make a lot of money. And so initially it might look to be cost effective to go to an Amazon. Long term, the cost can be prohibitive, especially for active data sets.
Super, I agree. So let's talk about what this means in terms of summary, right? Sorry, my slides are not moving. Anyway, so basically, this is a great story, and I think what Cloudian is trying to accomplish and build out here is building that modern data platform that allows customers in the financial services to address their strategic data priorities. Right? This is a way for them to simplify their environment, their IT infrastructure, specifically around data, to do that in a secure way, in a way that will bring in the scale, the enterprise reliability, availability, as well as tools and services and ecosystem that allows them to meet their requirements. As part of our next step, feel free to go and visit our website and our solution on financial services. I would say download our ebook that we have on how Cloudian has helped some of those customers. And for customers out there who want to try out, we do have a free trial, so feel free to download Cloudian software and check it out for yourself. And if you need more information, feel free to email at info@cloudian.com. Frank, really appreciate you being here and talking about this customer. It's been wonderful. And with that, we'll open up to questions.
Thanks so much, Sanjay and Frank. That was a great presentation from both of you. We do have a couple minutes here for questions. If anyone has any last-minute questions, go ahead and enter those at the tab at the bottom of the screen if you haven't already done so. I also want to point out one last time that we also have some content in the Attachments tab. Be sure to check that out as well. All right, I'll dive right into the first question then. How does Cloudian's solution help protect against ransomware?
That's a great question. We talked and alluded to some of those things in our discussion, Audrey. Ransomware means two things. First thing first, the way ransomwares work is unauthorized access to data, manipulating the data so that you cannot access it. And to prevent this, two things that needs to happen. First thing first, you have to make sure that you are preventing unauthorized access. That means that, once you need to have the right controls. Typically for software-defined solutions, people talk about getting into the OS level stuff. At Cloudian, what we do is not only just prevent the data being manipulated or edited through encryption or immutability through worm, right, where you can write once and only can read. We also protect and secure the environment, the box, by building in a security layer at the OS level. So it's very difficult for customers or those attackers to access that system. And if they get, if the data is already worm protected, there is no way they can encrypt that data because it is something that will lock down the data for anybody to edit it, right? You can only read that data. And this makes the solution very, very credible and is the best way to address ransomware attacks.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sanjay. I'm just going to hop right into our next question since we only have a couple minutes left here. Can I mix different kinds of nodes and hardware platforms?
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of our Cloudian's architecture, right? Our Cloudian architecture is a scale-out distributed architecture where you can create logical groups of data centers, regions within a cluster similar to Amazon. But you can also do is bring in different nodes, right? We realize that, technology changes and the hardware technology evolves every 3 years, 4 years, and so does the drive technology. So by allowing you to mix different nodes, we still have the ability to seamlessly grow your environment or phase out old legacy hardware so that you can continuously evolve your infrastructure non-disruptively. You can even have flash nodes like I was talking about and create logical data centers so that you can have your data sets always be locked down or pinned into flash nodes so that you can get predictable performance and then have the intelligent hybrid technology to move that data from flash to capacity nodes so that you can get the more value out of it.
Perfect. I think we have time for just one more. I think this one goes out to Frank. What helps you differentiate Cloudian from other vendor solutions?
Yeah, great question, Audrey. I think one of the key points is that Cloudian offers software-defined on industry-standard commodity appliances. So we offer a complete appliance, single throat to choke solution, yet compared to some of our competitors, our cost model, our cost basis is infinitely superior to the big guys, as we say. And then secondly, I would say from an ease of use, deployment management standpoint, we're definitely superior. And then lastly, we understand from our competitive analysis that one of our competitors is already going end of life with their object store, which has been around for a number of years. So I would say that Cloudian continues to beat competitors virtually in every single major POC that we're in. And it's really been based on the quality of our product, the fact that we have a superior cost model, and the quality of our team and support really is what differentiates us and causes us to win.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Frank. Thanks again,
Thank you,
everyone.
Audrey.
Thank you, Audrey.